Thank you for joining us on New Media One. Our guest today is Professor Tim Unwin, Secretary General of the CTO and Minister of Telecommunications, Science and Technology, Dr. Edmund Mansour. Professor Unwin, can you tell us a little bit about your visit here in Antigua?
Yeah, I'd love to. I've been doing some work in Montserrat, and to get to Montserrat from the UK, you have to fly via this island called Antigua, and everyone said it's a fantastic place to come for holiday. So we come in the hurricane season, and there are no tourists here, and it's wonderful. We can explore and have beaches to ourselves, and see empty berths for yachts. And more seriously, it's been fantastic and a chance to chill out and relax a bit. But I'd heard so much about the work that you've been doing and the minister's been doing on ICTs that I wanted to come and meet you guys and see some of the things you've been doing actually firsthand and get a practical sense. So it's a chance to combine holiday with a bit of work, but my wife is keeping me very much on the straight and narrow that it's mainly a holiday trip.
That's great. Okay, can you tell us a little bit about what you've observed so far in ICTs? I know you've met with Dr. Mansour today, and he has gone through a lot of the programs that the Ministry of Telecoms are working on right now. But what are your thoughts? Anything in particular that jumps out at you?
Yep, I mean, and let me give you a sense of before I'd had the privilege of coming here and seeing what Gate's been doing and some of the things the ministry's been doing. The first is you got actually pretty good internet access, Wi-Fi in my hotel, which in many parts of the world just isn't the case. Then you see the huge amounts of fibre that you across the island. So guessed from that a big infrastructural investment had gone on to make accessibility crucial. And then I come and hear about the initiatives going back many years in terms of connecting schools, just seen the bus that goes around to provide access to schools that don't have it. And a real, the sense I've got is a real focus on trying to ensure that everybody has access, basic access and basic knowledge to how to use the internet to deliver on their ambitions. And then I learned more about the recently launched Gate initiative, and it was fantastic because I saw an advert for that on television the other night, and then yesterday was the opportunity for A-level students and university students and health students and others to get this hands-on experience and the tablet that everyone's going to get. I have to say that many laptop initiatives for school children, I feel historically haven't delivered on the rhetoric of what many people have wanted about them. But coming here, listening to what you're doing, seeing that it's being rolled out at scale, seeing that there is a connectivity element to it, seeing that it combines the teachers with the pupils, was often a disconnect there. And hearing about the passion that you've been talking about in terms of really wanting everybody to have access to that wealth of knowledge through the internet seems to me to be very, very exciting.
Okay, and Dr. Mansour, of course you hear Professor Unwin speaking about how impressed he is with how the government here is rolling out technology to young people in schools. What are your thoughts on, after interacting with him, what are your thoughts on his feedback so far?
Well, I want to thank Professor Unwin for taking time out of his holiday schedule to visit us here at Gate and to just to have a fresh look at some of the initiatives that we have been rolling out. We have tried to nurture a relationship with the Commonwealth Telecoms organization, and certainly Professor Unwin's visit here will help us in that nurturing process, and I envisage that arising out of his visit today, we can delineate a collaborative framework for us to collaborate even more closely with the CTO. But it's good to hear that some of the initiatives that we have in progress are getting some level of validation from institutions like the CTO. As I indicated to Professor Unwin, we basically have a simple mantra here. That is, we want to certainly ramp up the mobile penetration, make sure broadband internet is permeating the education system, the governance structure, civil society, and most importantly now, leveraging on what ICTs can do for entrepreneurship, what it can do for innovation and sustainability and so on. So against that backdrop, I want to welcome Professor Unwin to Antigua. This is his first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last.
Well, Professor Unwin, you hear Dr. Mansour speaking about ICTs for innovation, and I know, of course, you do your work with the CTO. Tell us how the CTO is trying to bridge that digital divide within the Commonwealth.
And I'll combine that with just some reflections on what the Minister has said. One is it's about sharing good practices amongst all of our members. And I think, I know at times as a Minister you have to deliver on the needs of the people in your country. And it's often one doesn't always see the potential to share good practices across the world and my interest in the Commonwealth. And there are so many things here that I would like to share. Now, one is the CTO has a real commitment to skills development and entrepreneurship. So the work you're doing with young people to give them skills that will enable them to go and get jobs and hopefully then boost the economy and start employing other people themselves, that seems to me an initiative that's really exciting. I'd like to work together with you more on one of the projects we're thinking of developing more widely in the Caribbean, which is to give people who are out of school, dropouts, some ICT skills that can enable them actually to contribute to their own well-being and the productive economy. So that's one thing, and I think there's some very exciting aspects to that. Another area is that I care passionately about is ICTs for people with disabilities and accessibility. And it's not every brand new ICT facility that you go into that you do find people who are working, who personally have some kinds of disabilities. I think that's a fantastic sign. But I think regionally within the Caribbean, maybe there's potential for some initiatives there, because ICTs can transform the lives of people who have more disabilities, far more than they can actually those who have fewer disabilities. So I think there are some really interesting elements of good practice that the CTO we can share more broadly. Your bigger question of what we do, I don't actually like bridging the digital divide because I think far too often ICTs are leading to increasing divisions within our societies. Those who have the latest smartphone and against those who have just an old basic phone. And what you can do with those is just completely different. I'd like to get everybody together. One thing, and the Minister touched on this, is the importance of mobile broadband and the importance of broadband connectivity. So we've joined the Alliance for Affordable Internet. We're on the council of that. We're really looking to work to ensure that everybody can have access to internet at prices they can afford. I think often that requires the investment of governments to reach the poorest and the most marginalised. In some instances, universal service funds. We were talking about that and how in some countries in the Caribbean they've been successful. There are many arguments as to why they're not. So, weighing up these issues, sharing good practices. We work in capacity development, research consultancy, and events and conferences. I was delighted that last year our digital broadcasting switchover forum was held here. Sadly, I had other commitments at the time, so that's why this is only the first time I'm coming here. So I could talk for hours, but those are just some insights that I hope are relevant to you.
Well, we know openness on the internet can promote economic and social development. Do you think Antigua is making good inroads in this area?
People mean different things by openness. Can I just ask you to clarify exactly what you mean by that?
Openness in terms of making the internet available freely without heavy prices.
Yeah.
So it's available to everyone.
Yes, I for what I've seen, undoubtedly, and there's some interesting work you're doing on developing small businesses and the way you're supporting them and the web presence, enabling them to have visibility, not just in Antigua, but internationally. And I do think that wider freedom can enable businesses in countries such as Antigua to have access to international markets, thereby building the economy. I mean, you've got a very successful tourist industry, which clearly brings in revenue to enable you to do some things. But I don't think countries should be over-dominated by one particular sector, such as tourism. So the potential to use ICTs to broaden the base of the economy is also quite exciting.
Well, Dr. Mansour, going forward, how will Antigua and Barbuda be working along with the CTO to continue in its mandate?
I certainly would like to solidify partnerships in three areas. One is in the area of leveraging on ICTs with the disabled community, or the differently abled as it's called. We currently have a program in place, and we expect to be making substantial inroads and progress within a month using the resources here at the GATE facility. The second area is in cybersecurity and combating cyber terrorism. The Commonwealth Telecoms Organization has a good partner with us, and we want to facilitate some training here, whether it is via Skype or teleconferencing. And the third area is in working with what I consider to be at-risk youth. Professor Unwin made reference to that. If we can do even a mid-level program with the CTO here, we would have made substantial progress. And those are the three priority areas, Nashita.
Okay, very good. Professor Unwin, any final thoughts?
It's just so good to be here and to have an opportunity to listen to the enthusiasm of everybody. I've had a privilege of talking with some of the people who've just started their programs here, and it's clear that they see this as contributing to their skills development and the opportunities that they will have for jobs in the future. The Minister has touched on three areas that we at the CTO have a lot of experience in, and I certainly look forward to ways through which we can build that relationship. And perhaps use Antigua as one of the regional hubs in the Caribbean, where it's not just training for people here, but working together we can offer training opportunities for people more broadly in the region. It's going back to your first question, it's also a lovely place to chill out and relax. And one of the only troubles is that my skin is very pale. You could probably see I've got a bit of a suntan, but it's just been good to have a holiday and use that as a chance to meet people and make new friends. So thank you.
Okay, great that you're enjoying your visit to Antigua. Okay, you've been watching New Media One with special guest Professor Tim Unwin, Secretary General of the CTO. See you next time.